this channel, that probably means you enjoy fossils and prehistoric life, which automatically means you like fossil beds and places where fossils are found. Well, all fossil beds are cool. There's some in particular that are extremely badass, like the Hell Creek Formation, very sick name, and also has yielded some of the most famous fossils in the world. So today I'm going to introduce you to it, talk about some of the coolest fossils found there, and also give you a sneak peek of what it's like to dig for fossils at one of the coolest formations on the planet. Let's get the general information out of the way. The Hell Creek Formation is a formation,
Let's add that to the words of wisdom.
which is a widespread rock layer that has particular sediments and fossils. Hell Creek is made up of sandstones and mudstones with fossils from the latest Cretaceous period, about 68 to 66 million years ago. So yes, right at the boundary of the asteroid apocalypse. Like I said, it's one of the most famous rock layers in the world, right in the upper Great Plains of the United States. And it's home to many of your favorite dinosaurs, Triceratops, Ankylosaurs, Pachycephalosaurs, and Tyrannosaurus. The name Hell Creek Formation comes from the Hell Creek Valley in Montana. Back in the early 1900s, dinosaur fossils found in the valley got the attention of a fossil hunter named Barnum Brown. Very fossil hunter name, if you ask me. If there's a stereotype for a fossil hunter, their name is going to be some shit like Barnum Brown. He visited Hell Creek Valley and found fossils of Triceratops, plants, snails, and more, all from the Cretaceous period. He also found the partial skeleton of a massive predatory dinosaur that would eventually be named Tyrannosaurus Rex.
I'm doing pretty good.
Barnum Brown is the discoverer of T-Rex. Who else other than Barnum
just
Brown?
moved,
When he wrote about his
so
finds, Brown describes these rock
that's why I
layers as the
haven't
Hell
been,
Creek Beds. In 1952, geologists
streaming as
officially
much
named
as
it
I
the
want
Hell Creek
to.
Formation. Now we know the formation is big.
But
as
now
fuck.
I'm back.
It covers massive sections
I
of
am
Montana, North Dakota, and
partially
South Dakota.
moved
And as
in.
paleontologists
Like,
and
I still
fossil
got
hunters have
stuff
spent more and more time
to,
digging there, it's become known as the home of lush Cretaceous plants, like conifers.
I still have
cycads,
some
and
stuff that
ferns,
needs to
and
be
lots of
unpacked,
animals like
but
turtles,
I am like
insects, small mammals,
majority
and,
moved
of
in,
course,
so.
the dinosaurs. A variety of shapes and sizes and lifestyles, meat eaters, plant eaters, fucking everything under the sun. This formation is one of the best places in the world for studying dinosaurs. Not just individual species, but entire ecosystems. So, let me build it up for you. The story is in the bones and the rocks. Back in the Cretaceous, this area was a series of woodlands, swamps, and rivers stretching from the Rocky Mountains in the west, which were just baby mountains of the time, to the shores of the western interior seaway in the east. Sandstones were deposited beneath the riverbeds and coastlines, mudstones on the river floodplains, coal beds in the swamps. Lots of cool shit to find. Lots of species discovered here. And then,
He is
in the
not 7
1980s,
foot.
Scientists discovered the asteroid impact that ended the age of the dinosaurs.
I thought he was a regular dude.
Paleontologists became even more interested in Hell Creek. It's one of the big locations in the world where you can see the iridium layer left from remnants of the asteroid. And so, with that, then a big topic of research, even more cool fossils have been found. I'm going to introduce you to some of them. First up,
Like,
the
I
king,
can
or
talk?
in
What are
this
you
case,
talking
the
about?
queen, or
You call me short?
gender-neutral Mesozoic monarch. Sue the T-Rex.
I am not
Easily one of the
4'9".
most famous fossils ever found.
I am a
If you've ever seen
sensible
a picture of a T-Rex
5'5".
skeleton, you have
Thank you very much.
99.9999999%
Literal average height.
chance seeing Sue. There's probably a picture of Sue. It's
Jack, you
named
have
Sue
no room.
because it was first noticed by
You
a
are
woman named
1
Sue
inch
Hendrickson
tall,
when it was
taller
discovered
than
in
me.
1990. But its proper name is
I don't care.
FMNHPR2081. Sue for short.
Hanging
Started
on for
out
that.
with a few
Hanging
bones
on to that
found
1.5 for dear
exposed
life.
on a ranch in the Cheyenne River Sioux Indian Reservation in South Dakota. Immediately, a very cool find. But after more than 2
Bruh.
weeks of 6 people digging the whole thing out, it became clear they hit the fucking jackpot. The skeleton was more than 90% complete and more than 40 feet long. And to this day is one of the largest and most complete specimens of Tyrannosaurus. Even though a shit ton of T-Rex fossils have been found in this formation, Sioux is very special, very large, very complete, and so extremely valuable. And as you would expect from anything extremely valuable, with no explicitly defined owner. After the discovery, Sioux became the center of a massive legal battle. The rancher who owned the property argued the skeleton was rightfully his, while the scientific institution leading the excavation claimed that they had gotten permission to keep it. On top of that, the Cheyenne River Sioux leaders also disputed the ownership of the fossil since it was found on their land. Sioux was seized by the government and held while the whole thing got sorted out in court. Eventually, the rancher won the custody
Sioux.
battle and sold the fossil at public auction. And finally, after 7 years since discovery, Sioux was purchased by the Field Museum in Chicago for $8 million dollars. $8 million. They got some help from corporations like Disney and McDonald's, which was objectively very nice of them. So that a billionaire wouldn't snatch it up and hide it away in some fucking bunker for the rest of eternity. Since then, scientists have gotten their hands all over it, and Sioux has been a treasure trove of information on the lives of Tyrannosaurus rex, especially in their later years. Based on the growth patterns of their bones, Sioux lived to be about 28 years old, and their skeleton is full of damages caused by a lifetime of injuries and diseases. Broken ribs, gout, etc. It's pretty insane to think about the fact that we can see evidence of these injuries in bones that have been resting in the rock for millions and millions of years. There's a chance that resting for that long sounds pretty good to you right now. Lucky for you, I have the perfect solution. Helix Sleep, a premium mattress company that delivers customized mattresses right to your door, and just so happens to be the sponsor of today's video. You might remember last year, Helix was down to help me get my sister Presley a new mattress as a graduation present. And now I want to get one because that mattress is insanely comfortable. It feels like it has a mattress pad, but it doesn't. That's how soft it is. And to make sure that it works for me long term, all I had to do is fill out this sleep quiz that matches you to the perfect mattress.
No, because that's the same. That's basically the same of like Miku. It's like every Miku is canon. That's basically what he's done.
And what do you know? I was matched with the same Helix Midnight model. I'm very excited to set it up. I'm going to set it up in my office as a daybed for when I have guests over. I'm probably going to keep coming back. And the best part is that it'll be super easy. Helix delivers your mattress right to your door with free shipping in the US. Comes rolled up in a box, making it super easy to set up, unbox it, unroll it, let it expand. Done. Lickety split. If you're not sure you're going to love it, Helix offers a 100-night sleep trial. You get to test it out for 100 nights. Make sure it's perfect for you. Plus, their mattresses come with a 10-year warranty.
Wow, this is
You know
hot
you're getting
garbage.
quality. They also offer financing options and flexible payment plans. And they have an exclusive discount for you, i.e. a viewer of this channel. Until March 31st, you can get 25% off your mattress purchase for Sleep Awareness Month. Just go to helixsleep.com/LindsayNicole or click on the link in the description. Thank you, Helix, for sponsoring this video. Now, back to the bones. About 7 years later, after the Field Museum in Chicago got their hands on Sue, another museum got their hands on another sick fossil from the Hell Creek Formation. This time, the Dragon King. You might think this must describe yet another T-Rex, or something similar, but no. This one's a Pachycephalosaur. Those are the ones with the big dome heads, dome-headed dinosaurs, two-legged herbivores, thick domes of bone on their heads surrounded by bumps and spikes and shit. Probably good for smashing each other, smashing against each other, and also to look sick as fuck. This one was found in 2003. Another team of diggers at a Hell Creek site in South Dakota found the skull of what seems to be a Pachycephalosaur with an unusually flat dome. Actually, just not a dome. Just a flat head, which was very strange. Thankfully, the government didn't have to get involved this time. The skull was donated to the Children's Museum of Indianapolis, where guests could watch scientists working on it.
I know what video you're watching.
Visitors, scientists named it
Your
Draco,
boy be driving a
which
Ford
translates
Explorer.
to the Dragon King. After a shit ton of research, it turns out Dragon King is actually a dragon baby. When paleontologists examined the growth patterns in the bones, they realized Draco Rex wasn't fully grown. When they compared it to other Hell Creek Pachycephalosaurs, they noticed Draco Rex has the same features as young Pachycephalosaurus. Draco Rex wasn't a new species, just a young Pachycephalosaurus. That flat head is what the babies looked like before they developed the dome as adults, which means Draco Rex is unfortunately not a valid name, since it's the same species as another dinosaur, and that sucks, because that name is sick. But it also means we learned something equally sick about dinosaur growth patterns. And maybe Draco Rex can be inspiration for what you name your next pet. Maybe a Chihuahua, or a large fluffy cat, or a hamster named Draco Rex. That's sick as fuck. I feel like it could be a cool name for a person too, but I'm like halfway about it. I feel like it would be cool, but maybe that's because I'm a fucking freak. I'm a total weirdo. I don't know. You gotta be the right person. Maybe I don't like it anymore. Anyway, Sue and Draco Rex are both amazing finds, but they're each just one dinosaur. I'd argue the most incredible Hell Creek Formation discovery is a pair, the dueling dinosaurs. These dinosaurs were discovered on a ranch in Montana in 2006 by a team led by a fossil hunter named Clayton Phipps. They first found the bones of a Triceratops, which eventually turned out to be a whole skeleton. Before they finished excavating that skeleton, they found the bones of a Tyrannosaur tangled up with it, which also turned out to be a whole other skeleton. Both dinosaurs are more than 20 feet long, and they seem to have died side by side buried in a riverbed, locked in mortal combat. This led to the nickname dueling dinosaurs. It's unbelievably preserved and will eventually provide a ton of information on both species and how and why exactly they died together like that. Keyword eventually. Just like Sue, the dueling dinosaurs were locked up in court battles for years. This time, rather than 7, 14 years locked up. For a while, Phipps and the ranch owners tried to find a museum to buy the fossils, but couldn't. Then things got even more complicated with another ownership dispute. The land where the fossils were found has multiple owners. Some own the surface rights, others own the mineral rights, which are different. Surface rights are rights of things found on the surface, on top of the land. Mineral rights are for everything found below it, in the ground. The Montana courts argued back and forth for years about how these laws apply to fossils and who actually owns the dueling dinosaurs. By 2020, The ownership dispute was settled, enough that the fossils could be purchased by a nonprofit organization called Friends of the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences, who donated them to the museum's collection. Now they're at the museum where visitors can see them and paleontologists can finally investigate. There's a lot to be learned from this specimen. Not only is the behavior of these dinosaurs interesting, but the sediment also preserves partial skin impressions and the bones contain signs of injury, just like with Sue and Draco Rex. This is going to be another Hell Creek Formation discovery that will change how we understand dinosaurs. And this might sound very familiar to you, because I've talked about this fossil before in my coolest fossil discoveries and one I'm pissed about. This is one that I liked. It wasn't the one I was pissed about. After I put out that video, I actually got a message from Clayton's sons. Clayton's the fossil hunter who found the dueling dinosaurs. They liked the video, and they invited me to go out to Montana to go fossil hunting with them. And you bet your ass I went. I went over the summer, spent a few days out there, went fossil hunting with them for 2 days, and came back with a ton of cool shit. And that was my first time fossil hunting ever, and it was so cool. And I actually brought Gian out there. Gian was visiting the US from Argentina, and we went to Montana, and we went fossil hunting. He shot a gun for the first time.
Yeah, you want to stand over there?
America, and we had a great time. So, we also filmed it, and I'm gonna show you what it looked like going on another little field trip. So, enjoy. Is it filming?
It's filming.
Hi, my name is Lindsay Nicole, and this is Field Trips with Lindsay Nicole. Today we're in Hell Creek, Montana.
Stop that.
with the
Turn that
Dinosaur
shit down.
Cowboy and Hell
Gross.
Creek Hooligans.
The
Here he
fuck
comes
was
right
that?
now.
Fucking gooner.
Clayton Phipps, and some folks call
Oh,
me
hello?
Dinosaur Cowboy. I've been recovering fossils from the Hell Creek Formation for about 25 years.
Clayton had us staying in what he called the man camp, situated on the edge of his property that's about 50 minutes from town. And an hour and a half from the dig site. This gave us plenty of time to learn more about Clayton and how he got involved in finding fossils.
I was working on a ranch as a cowboy, and a guy came by the ranch and asked the landowner if he could go look for fossils. And I thought, what's this crazy guy doing? You know, this is whatever. And so he got permission, and he spent the weekend out there camping and hiking and looking for fossils. And when he came back, he had a piece of Triceratops frill, which is a shield on a Triceratops. And I said, well, what are you going to do with that? He said, well, I'm going to sell it. And it was right after the movie Jurassic Park came out, so the dinosaur craze was high, and people were excited about dinosaurs, and the market was good. And I thought, $500? I'm making like $900 a month working as a cowboy, and you went out for a weekend and made $500. I bet I could do that. And so I just started looking and trying to learn everything.
That
I could
one has
about
a
it.
loving
Started
mother.
hiking around, and I started picking up chunkosaur everywhere, just chunks of dinosaur bone that weathered out, and it was just
For
fragments
the love of
now.
the game is crazy.
And pretty quick, my pockets were all full of these chunkosaurs. So I go back to the pickup and I dump my staples out. I had a little staple bucket. Walk around. Pretty quick, my staple bucket's full of chunkosaurs. So I go back to the pickup and I find this gunny sack, which a feed bag for cattle feed, empty behind the seat. So I grab that. Pretty quick, it's like half full of chunkosaur. And I'm like, son of a gun, I got to learn something about this. Then I caught a bug I just can't get rid of, and that's all I want to do now is go look for a dinosaur.
That's awesome. I mean, it's so rewarding. Just, all that work and then coming across something.
It's the thrill of discovery. You can't replace it.
Yeah.
You just can't beat it either.
Imagine being like a happy farmer and then you find your
Once
passion
we got there, we finally met up with his
in
son,
finding
Daniel Wood,
dinosaurs
also known
randomly.
as the Hell Creek
That's
Hooligans.
crazy.
So there can be fossils from here, basically clear down to the bedrock, which that's the definite bottom right there. That clay base, the hard base. So we don't go into that at all, but we do go through most of the sand if there's pebbles in it. If it's a solid sand, not much stuff got trapped in that, so I usually don't spend a lot of time going through the solid sand. Right there, you can see pebbles, little clay balls, pebbles, and you can see it turns to solid sand about right there. And then, yeah, this is pretty much solid sand, so I don't spend a lot of time going through the solid sand. So there you go.
Cool.
Good luck.
All right, thank you.
What's it like, Lindsay?
It feels like my technique is atrocious. Is that just rock?
I'm gonna be honest, it was a lot harder to figure out what's bone and what's clay than I was expecting.
It's like slightly harder.
Clay ball.
It's a clay.
Yep.
The clay balls looked like bone, seemed like bone, just turned out to be bamboozlers about 90% of the time.
I was hoping to find you one so you could kind of see what to look for when you see
That would be crazy if you found a fossil while giving me a tutorial.
Oh, give me a few minutes. This size, yeah, it's entirely possible.
Clayton, what about this? Is this just giant clay?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
This is our reference. This is a piece of a, you said you think this is a piece of a spinal cord? Or not spinal cord, a vertebrae? Yeah, process off of a vertebrae. So this is what we're using as reference to figure out what's bone and what's not. This is not bone. This is clay. I fear this is a no-bone zone. It's hard enough to find bones when you know where to look. So how the fuck do you know where to look in the first place? It's all clay.
There's no roadmap to finding a dinosaur. You just have to have eyes on the ground. Mostly we hike, and if we find a little fragment, we try to find the source of that fragment. We don't just randomly start an excavation without some indication there's a fossil or something to go after.
That looks
there has to be
oh my
something
God.
sticking out on the surface.
Why does it look like that?
An excavation. With any luck, you can follow what we call the bone trail up. We'll hike around the base of these buttes and up these draws, and we'll find a chunk, and we'll see if there's another chunk, and that other chunk might lead us to another chunk, and if we're lucky, it'll lead us to the chunk where that started eroding out and coming apart as Mother Nature started to rot it out of the ground and erode it.
That looks so bad.
So Nathan, I don't know, I guess I haven't heard his story, I know I found it, but he was likely hiking down there, found these bone chips and followed it up to this source. And when this, when the bones stop, it's got to be, you better close to that layer, as if it's not coming from any farther above you. So sometimes you can't find that source, and you just have to walk away because there's just no source showing. If there's pieces way down there and you can't find any source, it's hard to start digging.
It's rare to find a complete bone, anywhere in the Hell Creek Formation, and you only usually find them if you're digging. By the time they reach the surface, they're already starting to erode and fracture up, and so when you're hiking and prospecting looking for sites, you almost never find a complete bone just laying there ready to pick up. It's pretty rare. They can last on the surface a while, but you want to collect them. There's a short window of time to get it before it's just gone.
Mother Nature is our best friend and our worst enemy. It exposes them so we can find them, but it also destroys them if you don't collect them.
Totally.
So the reason this one is more exciting than others, is this little piece right here. See how honeycomb that is?
Yeah.
That is theropod bone. Theropods are way rarer than an herbivore.
Yeah.
Predator-prey ratio. So that honeycomb pattern tells us that it's a meat-eating
This
dinosaur.
is
One bone
what is
here,
going
and
on with the
right,
eyes.
there was a couple more pieces around that gives us hope that there might be something more in the hill. This is how you find a dinosaur site. There's not much there. Most people walking by would just see out rocks, but if you look close, there's definitely some honeycomb bone marrow.
Yeah.
You can see it's not a rock. Oh, there's that. You want to try that licking stick test? Today.
Lick and
I don't know
stick.
if I trust you.
I don't blame you.
Yesterday.
Lizzie, what just happened?
Don't worry, it doesn't stink.
I just licked fossilized shit.
Ew.
Why'd you do that?
He told me to.
I wish we'd have got that on film.
What the fuck is
So
that?
there's a lick and stick test we do, and it actually works. If you're out hiking and you find a fossil, you can put it to your
What the
tongue.
fuck
and
is
stick to your
that?
tongue. So I talked her into the lick and stick test. We're going to try it on this one. Well,
Very eager to do it.
turns out it's a copper light. I kind of pulled a bad prank on it.
Fossilized shit. Because it's irregular?
Look how fucking look how derpy that is. Good God. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's a cool fossil.
So we just stick your tongue to that. No, it's not a turd this time.
Whoa!
See that?
Yeah.
I saw your tongue kind of like I mean, it's like glue on your tongue,
Yeah.
just instant. So that's a good way to test if it's a bone or a rock or a
I
turd.
did.
And how'd you decide this spot?
So I'd walked by this point probably at least 20 times in the last 20 years. And I'd
Why
pick
does
up
it
a
look
little
like that?
fragment
Is it
fossil,
because
here and there on it, but never
there's
enough
like
to
this
indicate
bit?
that there was a good pocket here. And so I just decided a year and a half ago, I decided, well, I'm going to open that site up and see if there's more
What the
in there.
fuck did you just
Wow.
throw at me?
I'd been
Your
digging
socks?
here 20 years
Did
ago.
you throw your
I had
socks at
any
me?
indication that this pocket was as good as it was going to be. It's the
Or
best one
even-
I've done in 25 years. We could possibly
little
describe a new
shit.
species from this spot.
There you
I
go.
can't guarantee that, but there's
Why does it look like
because
this?
we have
Why does she look so fucking
hundreds of
derpy?
bones from
What
this
is going
site now.
on?
Based on the shape of this bone, I can tell that it's a femur. So it's the bone right here, your thigh bone. And based on this trochanter being in the center of this bone, I can tell that it's
am
a
I
plant eater.
tripping?
There's basically 3 options in the Elk Creek Formation for a dinosaur this size of known species: a Tyrannosaurus rex, a hadrosaur, or possibly a Triceratops. Based on the size and the shape of this one, the robustness of it, I'm going to say it's Triceratops. And because this trochanter's in the center, I know that it's not.
Okay, that looks better.
A meat-eater trochanter would be up towards the head of the femur. And so that's an easy way in the field to make an
Am I just
identification on
blind?
these things.
So you can figure out how big this specimen was just based on the femur, right?
Fairly close, yeah. It's definitely an adult Triceratops. I've probably seen a little bit bigger ones, but this one's got to be almost 4 feet long, which tells me that it is a full-grown Triceratops.
We kept digging throughout the day, and eventually we found some pretty cool stuff.
What is that?
Triceratops tooth.
It's just a clay ball.
That was a large turtle. That's a big carapace.
I think I found something.
Cool. What'd you get?
Is that something?
Yes. I would say it's a turtle bone.
Ooh.
Yeah, they set it on there, and I'll add a little glue to it real quick.
Turtle.
Oh, whoa. Do you think, you said that's T-Rex, you think?
100%. So that's a shed tooth. They shed them continually like sharks. This is one that just broke off as the animal was feeding. Got tumbled down the river, and Luke's the lucky one that found it.
And then just glue it down so it's solid for the ride home. That's probably a $3,000 to $5,000 tooth, depending on who I can get to buy it, who wants it.
Actually, might be some. Yeah, it's fuck right. Yeah, it's a tough one. You can see a brush just going away as we speak. In the end, was it worth the $30 worth of glue we dumped into it? Not counting the thousands of hours of your time to clean it. Until we're sure it's not a skull. Because obviously, thousands of hours are worth it if it's a skull. Play balls don't make any noise.
Yeah. I can.
One more test. That is a fossil.
Lick
I'll
it.
just let you. Yeah.
Oh, that's definitely something.
Oh, you got There's probably a fossil bone. So soft tissue.
And this too. Same?
Yeah, actually.
Kind of over the same spot.
Yeah. Oh, I think it actually goes on.
Oh. Look at that. Cool. Lunch. Is this something?
Yeah. Yeah, nice job. You know what this is?
What is it?
It's a tooth socket row on a hadrosaur, so it's a hadrosaur jaw. It's just a section of it, but dinosaur jaw. Congratulations.
Ooh.
That's awesome.
Hadrosaur jaw.
And Daniel made a find that I couldn't even have imagined finding anywhere there. A tooth belonging to none other than a tyrannosaur.
Looks pretty good.
Ooh, why does that eyebrow look way bigger than that one?
That is actually pretty dang crazy.
Oh, I hope the other side's there. Sometimes they're heartbreakers and they just split. This one appears to be good, but I'm not done yet. That straight edge is making me nervous when you get out. Oh no, it's there. Yeah.
Oh man, that's a
City.
nice tooth. Holy crap.
Oh, you guys got to see something awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
We're fired up about this. Yeah.
What the fuck?
You see them cracks in it? If you move that tooth, or if you bump that tooth, it's liable to just shatter. I take that Charbon and I literally dump it in there until it just pulls back out. And then, when you pull that out, yeah, it's going to take a little while to prep that tooth. No matter how many hours you put into that tooth, it's going to be worth every second you put. It's a fabulous tooth.
That's a
Nicely
good
done.
tooth. Thank you. Holy smokes.
Congratulations, that's a killer.
So how much is a tooth like that worth?
Oh, shoot, if the other side's like that, it looks to me like the serrations are perfect on this side. The enamel's perfect. It's a 4-incher. Going rate right now, 40 is not out of the question. 40,000.
Holy shit.
We just had a pretty good day. Yeah, we don't have all the money in the world just to sit here and dig, so this is the way we can raise money and fund this dig.
That is
It's pretty easy to grasp extracting and transporting a small fossil like the T-Rex tooth. But what about ones that require heavy machinery?
This is a notosaur. It's just a mangled bunch of bones in there. It's manageable, but it's very soft fossil. So in the field, I couldn't really expose it enough to even get a good idea on what all bones are there. You know, we didn't want to leave it out in the hills for rain, hail, windstorms, whatever. So we got to protect it. We'll take it back to the lab, we'll open it up, and then we'll really be able to dive in there and see what we do have. I'm hoping there's a skull in there. We did find one rooted tooth. The tooth matches Denversaurus, a known dinosaur. With that rooted tooth, it gives me hope that there's at least a jaw in there that tooth come out of. The skull shouldn't be, in theory, very far from here.
Yeah.
But that tooth's still there. So who knows? It'll be fun to see what is in that jacket when we get home with it.
Alright, what are we aiming for?
just kind of right here.
Oh, my tummy hurt.
So obviously digging for fossils in the middle of nowhere in Montana means there's not really paved roads for our rental car. So, to get back to the lab, we had a bit of unexpected off-road.
Whoopsie. Oh my god.
When you take a fossil out of the ground, obviously it's covered in ground. This is where the second phase of the fossil work begins, prep work.
The only reason I'm going to open it up is so it can dry out, the fossil can dry out. I'm just going to cut it down just a little bit and I'll show you guys how we do that. Our glue doesn't work very well and the fossils are stronger once they're dry, so it's better to prep them and wait till they dry out.
Holy shit.
Welcome to the lab. Gotta wipe the dust off them, get dirt out of the little cracks, and occasionally put pieces of bone back together that got broken while being excavated. Top prio of today was the T-Rex tooth. While Daniel started working on that, Clayton gave us a tour of the unimaginable amount of fossils they have in their lab. Some that are finished products and others that are still in the works. This is where Clayton and the hooligans end up spending most of their time in the winter, since it's too cold and the weather is too rough to excavate. Having the opportunity to go out to Montana for my first dig was unbelievable. And the fact that Clayton was willing to give us a look into his world was more than I could have ever imagined happening from me making a video about one of his greatest discoveries. He and the hooligans were so gracious and patient with our group who had zero experience, and I'm so thankful for that. This trip was incredible, and I hope I can go back and spend a longer amount of time with them in the future. Thank you so much to Clayton, Daniel, and Luke for having us out there, and I hope you enjoyed this little fossil hunting field trip. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next video coming out on animals that are metal as fuck. Keep up with behind-the-scenes updates in our Discord server on Patreon. And for now, stay curious. The world has a lot for us to learn. See ya! In the last few years, you might have seen any one of these videos about the Megalodon still being alive. Evidence of sightings. Threads about how they're probably somehow living somewhere in the Mariana Trench. This is all complete garbage, and actually inspired me to start a new
Why are you
series.
laughing like a dolphin?
This is episode 1. So, Welcome to Junk
Why are you laughing like a
where we tackle
dolphin?
animal conspiracies that are all based on a bunch of junk. Despite being debunked constantly, beaten to a pulp, some might say, this conspiracy is still very much alive and well. Videos on YouTube of like top 10 videos proving the Megalodon's still alive. I get tagged in stuff on TikTok that's like scientists proving that Megalodon is still alive. Constantly. And while I've debunked them multiple times on TikTok, I decided it was time to do it in an expanded format. So, buckle up. I'm going to break down all the reasons why this conspiracy came to be, and all the reasons it is absolutely false. At some points, I'll probably get a little bit pissed off, because nothing pisses me off more than a bunch of junk. So once again, my name is Lindsay Nicole, and this is Junkspiracies. The Megalodon is still alive. Let's get the general information out of the way. If, for some reason, you've never heard of the Megalodon or know very little about it, I envy you. But today, that will end. I'm gonna give you the neutral facts as an overview, so we all know what the fuck is going on as we move forward. Megalodon was a massive predatory shark that existed from like 23 to 3.6 million years ago. Maybe until 2.5 million years ago, but still, millions of years ago, nonetheless. They're the largest predatory fish to ever exist, that we know of, and might have had the strongest bite force of any animal alive ever, that we know of, with max estimates putting it at like 40,000 pounds per square inch. Compared to our puny 120 pounds per square inch, that is still powerful enough to bite off a pinky finger. 40,000, dude, they were not fucking around. That is fucked up. Most of the fossilized remains we've found of them are teeth. That's the deal with sharks, as we've talked about a couple times on this channel. But there are some really well-preserved skeletal elements as well, like jaw fragments. Their teeth have been found in most ocean basins and on every continent except Antarctica, and in some cases have been found embedded in the fossils of their prehistoric prey, whales and seals. So clearly they were tearing shit up globally for like 20 million years. And how about their size? I haven't told you how big they were yet. In the last video I did on the Megalodon, I went a little more in depth on what they had going on and how scientists figure out how big they were using their teeth. If you want to learn more about that, check it out here. And also to learn about their only known competitor and potential predator, the Leviathan whale. Anyway, their max size estimates, historically, were like 80 to 90 feet. Those turned out to be way too big. So now they range between like 30 to 65 feet, which is likely the kind of size variation that existed anyway between individuals. So, the Megalodon was a big shark. Also, their scientific name is Otodus megalodon. So their common name comes from their species
I know
name,
it's not so alive
Megalodon.
today, but like
you can
there's
either call them
something
Megalodon
similar,
or
right?
the Megalodon. I want to make
With
it
whale
clear
with,
that
like,
when I
teeth.
say the Megalodon, I'm talking about a whole species and not just
Yes,
one
yes.
fucking
It eats
shark
squid,
that
giant
some people
squid.
think still
What is it?
exists in the Mariana Trench. A single shark that's been alive for like 3 million years. Anyway, in order to reach this level of supremacy, they evolved over the years as highly active predators. They're estimated to have been able to reach
Like,
burst speeds
alive
of
today.
23 miles per hour and were
'Cause there's
partially endothermic,
a Leviathan
i.e.
whale-
produce their own body heat, i.e. were warm-blooded, which means
That was, like,
they had an
alive
appetite like nobody's
during,
business.
like, the
So they must
Megalodon.
have perused the more shallow coastal waters,
But
where
I
the vast
swear to
majority
God,
of marine life
there's
exists today,
a whale
in order to maintain
similar
their diet. I need you to remember all of this.
That
Because
is
as we
alive
go through
today,
some
that
of these
has teeth
conspiracy
and
ideas,
eats
I
giant
want us to
squid.
be able to
No?
have shared
Hold on.
moments
What the
of
fuck?
this idea is junk.
I am-
These sharks.
Oh, the sperm whale. Yeah. 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 And what does Leviathan whale look like? Leviathan whale. Oh my god.
Bro, chat show.
Oh, that looks terrifying. That's it. They literally looked similar. Maybe like bigger bottom jaw. Okay, so I'm right. I'm right, you're wrong.
Sharks
Fuck
were
you.
fucking bulldozers in the oceans, and the idea that they could somehow still be alive in an elusive, mysterious fashion today, 2024, is fucking insane. So, where did it all begin? What chain of events led us, as a society, astray? Buckle up, because this is nuts. Megalodon has been known to science since like the 1800s, and before that, actually, quick sidebar, before plate tectonics were like known as a thing, people would find shark teeth on hillsides, or wherever, like away from the ocean, and they weren't registered as shark teeth because they were so far from the ocean. They thought these teeth kind of resembled human tongues, so they were known as tongue stones or the devil's tongue. And they would be placed in a village overnight, and then in the morning it would be like, oh my god, a devil's tongue, and it was seen as a bad omen, or like somebody had done something wrong, and it would just cause all this drama, like a witch hunt. And then years went on, and eventually some people were like, those kind of look like shark's teeth, and then others were like, that's insane, until eventually a Swiss naturalist by the name of Nikolaus Steno brought proof of them in the form of a shark's mouth and said, tongue stones. And boom, tongue stones debunked. And megalodon teeth were included in those tongue stones. So, that's cool. That's one of my favorite things I learned in my paleontology class, so thought I'd tell you. Anyway, megalodon had been known to science since the 1800s, and some of their fossilized teeth were even collected on the HMS Challenger back in 1875. Remember that trip that also found out the Mariana Trench is deep as fuck? Very big trip for humanity. But these teeth would also turn out to be a big deal, and provide the first junk evidence for the continued existence of the megalodon. In 1959, a known cryptozoologist by the name Vladimir Chernetsky dated the teeth using a method that scientists quickly pointed out was all sorts of messed up. I don't want to go into it because there's a lot more I want to cover in this video other than the teeth, but if you want to read more on why the technique was messed up, check out this paper. This paper also provided a lot of other great information for this video. So anyway, the fucked up dating technique led to Chernetsky to the conclusion that one of the teeth was 24,267 years old, and the other was 11,333 years old. He was off by millions of years.
Well, I've done all I can do.
Even though multiple scientists disproved this technique later on, the damage had been done. And this was the first real start to the conspiracy that the megalodon is still alive. Dude, and I see people using these exact teeth as evidence to this day. Like, as if they were discovered yesterday. It's insane. But the biggest culprits of this conspiracy have been the sightings. And this is probably the side you're more familiar with as well.
What?
Despite the existence of whale sharks and basking sharks, you know,
What?
the other large chill sharks alive today, any apparent sighting of a large shark bigger than your average great white tends to get classified as hard megalodon evidence by your average clickbait conspiracy theorist. And this phenomenon can be traced all the way back to 1963, a book called Sharks and Rays of the Australian Seas by marine biologist David Steed. Is it Steed or Stead? Stead. Yes, marine biologist. And you bet your ass this story comes up on every proof video on YouTube because of that. I actually watched one of those top 10 fucking stupid videos on YouTube just to get my footing, and this is the first story that came
I think
up
you're
as,
playing
like,
that.
number one proof. So now my entire feed is conspiracy videos, so this series is going to be thick if you want it to be. Let me know. Let me know if you want more conspiracy videos. Anyway, David retold this story in his book that he heard back in 1918 on an island off the coast of Australia. The story came from some fishermen who had a boat and some 3.5 foot wide lobster pots that could each hold a few dozen lobsters. Big pots, lots of lobster. As the story goes, they had just encountered a massive white shark. Not a great white, but a white shark. White-colored shark. One fisherman said the shark was 115 feet long, and the other said it was 300 feet long. Just to recap, there has never been an animal in the history of anything ever to be 300 feet long that we know of. Not even close. They said over the course of a few days, the shark would repeatedly come back, ate the lobster pots whole, and also took a bite out of the boat. And David, the marine biologist, said, hey, their sizes are a bit off, but the rest of it, I believe it. Sounds like evidence that the megalodon is still alive. And I'm a marine biologist, so I will put that in my book, case closed. Well, luckily, that paper I mentioned that talks about the teeth stuff also talks about this sighting. The author, by the way, is paleontologist Tyler Greenfield, and he found some interesting stuff. But let's cover the basic shit first. Like I said, the sizes are nuts. The biggest blue whale ever recorded was 115 feet long. Whale sharks alive today can get to like 60 feet long, but even if for some reason they exaggerated a whale shark size, the description and the behaviors don't match up. Great white sharks could potentially display behaviors like that, but they've only been recorded at max 23 feet long. They're also in the area, so they would be familiar with a great white shark, so then theoretically they would have said it's a great white. So none of it
Basking
adds up.
shark.
But turns out there was also a newspaper article written about this sighting that Tyler mentioned in his paper. The article was written on January 30th, 1918 in the Sydney Evening News. In that same newspaper was a different article about a huge monsoon that had just affected the same area. Strong winds, flooding, classic monsoon shit is definitely powerful enough to damage some fishing equipment. But those damages could easily be seen as more avoidable or due to improper storage, putting the fault on the fishermen for the damages to the boat by some theoretical higher-up of their fishing company. So with the storm in mind, what seems more likely? A record-breaking, giant, albino great white damaging the same boat over the course of a few days, or that the story was made up to avoid paying for the damaged equipment that the storm fucked up because you didn't store it properly. Hard to say, I know. Let me know what you think in the comments. It sucks that David was a marine biologist because it gave this story in his book immediate credibility. And that is what sucks about conspiracy theories. People can find one person, like one doctor or one scientist, who has an insane idea that goes against everything everyone else in their field knows to be true. And people will latch on to that one person because of the title they have. And like, yes, science is all about looking into crazy ideas, but a scientist with crazy ideas is not always right just because they're a scientist. And that is why the peer review process exists, so other scientists can analyze those ideas and figure out if there's any basis to them. Stop finding one person with credentials and thinking that everything they're saying is true if everything they're saying is going against what everyone else in their field knows to be true. It's fucking crazy. But anyway, let's move on. Because while that initial hypothesis has definitely added fuel to the fire, it seems a lot more reasonable to blame modern mainstream media for what this conspiracy exists as today. There's no doubt that fictional stories influence what people think is actually real. Like, dude, Ice Age was definitely telling us something. There are definitely dinosaurs living in the center of the earth, and the government is hiding it from us. Thank God Ice Age is telling us the truth. And that definitely happened with movies like Jaws, or the one that's really on the nose, The Meg. Yes, the 2.5-star movie is telling us something the government doesn't want us to know. Don't clip that. But what I'm actually much more disappointed in, and would imagine has done a lot more damage, is the fact that 10 years ago, a fake documentary was made using photoshopped pictures, CGI videos, and actors hired to play the roles as scientists to claim that the Megalodon is still alive, and it was aired on Discovery Channel. There's a really good chance you've seen it. At the time in 2013, it was like their most watched Shark Week segment ever.
I definitely watched that.
Megalodon, the monster shark lives. And it looks like every other documentary you
I
watch
watched
on
that,
Discovery,
and
except for a 2-second disclaimer at the end of the movie that doesn't really take any direct accountability for any
and
of
the
it
one
being
with
fake.
dragons.
I actually bought it on YouTube. It was like $3.
Oh, and they did
just for
one with
context,
mermaids
because I never
too,
saw it
and
when
I
it
watched
first
that
aired.
one,
But
and
the
I believed
disclaimer
it when I
wasn't
was a
on the
kid.
YouTube version at all. They said they dramatized things to explore the legend, but what the fuck does that mean? Nothing, really. Despite being berated by thousands of people from multiple angles, Discovery doubled down and came out with a part 2 like the next year, titled Megalodon, the New Evidence, which was definitely the right decision for them to make. And I don't know at what point this happened because I could only find screen grabs of it, but at some point they put out a poll on their website to their Megalodon viewers asking if they think the Megalodon is still alive, and 70% said yes. 70%,
no.
dude. I just can't believe they did that. Honestly, it's just insane. Like, you claim to be a reliable science network and then you pull shit like that. I don't know. I just feel like if you're gonna claim to be a reliable network, you should probably commit to that. I know I'm kind of ranting, but I think the main problem we can identify here is that we view channels like Discovery as a collection of scientists or people in science, because that's what their programming is about. But at the end of the day, people running Discovery are not scientists or people in science. They're not the people in your favorite Discovery show. They're people in entertainment. And people in entertainment generally don't give a shit about what's true or not. They care about what's entertaining. Part of me kind of feels bad for saying this, like maybe I'm being too harsh, but you know what? No. They had a nerve to make a sequel. Discovery, you have some fucking nerve. You deliberately misinformed millions of people and then doubled down. Shame, 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 shame. And like I said, I bought it because I had a sneaking suspicion that all of the proof videos I keep getting tagged in are clips from that documentary. So I watched it, well, skimmed through it, and what do you know? My hypothesis was correct. So before I show you some of the most viral clips, I want to show you this guy, marine biologist Colin Drake, the star of the show, as you would suspect. He is not a marine biologist, but an actor from South Africa named Darren Meyer, who has a decently sized portfolio on IMDb. He got cast to play a role in a film, as actors do. Nothing wrong with that, but I want you to burn this image of him in your brain, so that next time you see new Megalodon proof, and he shows up, you can know it's a bunch of junk, in the factual sense. I'm gonna play a few clips from the movie, and let me know if they look familiar to you.
The video was shot by a father and a son who had come across a whale that had suffered a brutal attack. Now, the original footage was kind of hard to make out, but after studying it, and the amateur photos taken from the beach, you can clearly see a bite radius in the whale, and the bite radius is striking. There's only one underwater predator that would be able to bite the tail off of a whale this size, like has been done here.
What's the new evidence now? A satellite photo near Sao Paulo. Well, during the initial investigation, the agent who was studying the swarm noticed something out in the water.
Okay, kind of a speck.
Yeah, well, at this resolution, it's a speck. When they zoomed in, though, they got this.
It's a little fuzzy, but I'd say that's a shark.
Those are 40-foot buses, and when you compare them next to the first photo, I'd say that's a 70-foot shark.
And then you caught this.
Right. Yeah, I saw some shark there, but it
That's so fake.
What'd you make of this thing? have the same initial assessment. What was yours?
Well, it certainly is the size of a great white, but there's more going on than just the skin. Take a closer look at its back. You can see bumps along its spine.
Right there on both sides, right?
Yeah, that's more than just an abnormality. That's a genetic structural difference in its cartilage, which suggests a much sturdier animal.
So in your estimation, this is not a great white?
No, the shark in Australia is not an adult great white. It's a baby megalodon.
Those videos have 92 million views combined on TikTok. And that's just from one repost of it each. They've been reposted so many times. And from the quick scroll I did in the comments, no one is aware of the fact that these came from a documentary Discovery aired that turned out to be fucking fake. No one is aware of the fact that they came from the worst decision Discovery ever made. I mean, why would they? Probably half the people who watched that TikTok weren't even sentient when it came out. So now it can make its rounds again in short form format. Of course, there's other forms of video evidence that make their rounds outside of the CGI from that movie. They're usually cases of mistaken identity, like this video that's been circulating since 2021. A giant shark spotted from a ship off the coast of Massachusetts. This is a basking shark. A giant shark alive today is not the megalodon. I'm gonna take a swift guess and say that every video you see of a giant shark that people think is the megalodon is just a video of a basking shark. So what is a basking shark? The basking shark is the second largest fish alive today that we know of, right after the beloved whale shark. Their scientific name is Cedorhinus maximus, which translates to great-nosed sea monster. Understandable, I must say. Like whale sharks, basking sharks are generally slow-moving filter feeders. I say generally because they tend to move at like 2 miles an hour, but then also, on rare occasion, they do shit like this.
Keep watching.
Yeah, dude, I did not know basking sharks breached until I started researching for this video. That was taken by a diver named Vanessa Bone back in 2021.
They're all
so,
new voice
that's
actors.
Cool as fuck. Anyway, basking sharks are so cool. Their default mode of locomotion is slowly moving through the water with their mouths. Again, they have these gill rakers that line the insides of their mouths to catch krill and plankton. And like I said, they're the second largest fish alive that we know of and can get to about 33 feet long. Generally, they're seen alone. But obviously, from the video, groups are spotted from time to time. And I want you to take a guess on the size of the biggest group ever spotted. 10? No. 50? No. 100? No. 1,000? Close. 1,398. Dude, the proof is right here. I'm not making this shit up. 1,400 basking sharks found in a group. Nuts. But back to the reason I brought them up in the first place. The purpose of this video. So basking sharks are big, are less known than whale sharks. And I would also say don't have as much of a conspicuous silhouette as whale sharks do. Like you see a whale shark from a bird's eye view, and you're like, that's a whale shark. Basking sharks, if you're not really familiar with them, kind of have a very general shark silhouette. Just generic big shark. I would say the classic shark from an aerial view has just a rounded or a slightly pointed snout, maybe like a tiger shark or a great white. And basking sharks kind of fall into that category, but look at the snout. It's very strong, powerful, apparent, hence the name great-nosed sea monster. So now you know. Hopefully if you come across a video of megalodon evidence, you can say basking shark. Boom, done. So to recap, all of the video evidence of the megalodon soiling the internet is either fake, i.e. photoshopped or CGI, or a case of mistaken identity and is probably a basking shark. But I know we can't stop there, because there's a chance you're thinking, okay, fine, well maybe all the evidence I've seen is fake, but what if we just haven't seen it? Let's refer back to paragraph 7 of this video, where I mentioned they were partially endothermic, which means they produced their own body heat. Producing body heat burns up a lot of calories. You do that every day, and the only way to restock calories as an animal is to eat. The megalodon was very big, which means they had a very big appetite in order to sustain their energy requirements, which means they must have been restricted to the areas of the ocean that have consistent, easy access to fulfilling meals. Coastal ecosystems, and there's fossil evidence to support this. The megalodon, like I said, was a fucking bulldozer, not an elusive shark. The most recent fossilized teeth come from over 2.5 million years ago, and we still have evidence of how much of a terror they were in the fossil record. Their teeth, embedded in the bones of their prey. Dude, there's a fossilized whale found from 15 million years ago that bent its spine, and it was most likely caused by a megalodon attack with a tooth as evidence. If we can see its destruction in the fossil record, we would absolutely be able to find proof of its existence today. Like, without a doubt, that is megalodon evidence. An individual that washed up on the beach, wounds on prey that escaped, carcasses of their successful kills, and not just that one fucking CGI video that makes the whale look like it's made out of rubber. Like, an abundance of evidence. evidence, and we would see them all the time. Okay, then there's also the classic question, well, what if they live in the deep sea? The Mariana Trench, perhaps. The deep ocean is like the Sahara Desert times 10. It is a hellscape. Generally, there is nothing for thousands and thousands of miles, with the occasional deep sea oasis that could be permanent, maybe near hydrothermal vents, or temporary, maybe a whale fall, but nothing large enough to sustain the megalodon as a species. It can't possibly be a single shark. It's biologically impossible. It's completely unsustainable for a massive, ultra-predatory species that used to live at coastal waters, preyed on whales that weighed, like maybe 6,000 pounds minimum. But let's just say they did evolve to live in the deep sea, where food is wildly inconsistent, the pressure is nuts, it might as well be the landscape of a different planet to adapt to. Let's just say they did. The amount of adaptations they'd have to go through to be able to survive down there, first of all, would probably be too drastic to have happened only over the course of 3 million years, but also would result in descendants that would be completely unrecognizable to the megalodon as we know it. They wouldn't be the megalodon anymore. I know there's a chance you feel like this doesn't make sense. How could such a massive, successful predator be extinct? If they were the best, why aren't they around anymore? Well, the reality is, their size only worked for them because of the conditions of their environment. Bigger is not always better. A larger size requires a massive diet, and a massive diet is a very sensitive one. The most successful lineages that have survived mass extinctions didn't do so because they were big, or the top predators. Actually, it has been pretty much the opposite. Generally, there's always exceptions to that, but in the general sense, their ability to go long periods without food, or survive off of small amounts of food, has been the key to success during hard times. And evidence suggests this is exactly what happened. A global cooling took place at the end of the Pliocene, near the end of the road for the megalodon. This led to thicker ice caps at the poles, which led to sea levels dropping all around the world, which meant the loss of many coastal habitats. Their prey species were having a tough time, which meant they were also having a tough time. And it seems as though the megalodon might have been outcompeted by smaller counterparts. Yeah, the great whites. A single great white could get by on a much smaller amount of food than a single megalodon, and that is that. I know this might be a huge buzzkill. The megalodon potentially still being alive means there's still mystery in our world. It's fun to imagine that such big things haven't been discovered yet. The idea of them being alive is incredible, but the world is so much cooler than just the possibility of that. Some brittle stars can see without eyes. They have a whole different visual sensory network. Sponges in the deep sea look like alien lollipops. We're figuring out how to communicate with whales using AI. Basking sharks are huge and exist today and are not a danger to you. The current state of our ocean ecosystems is the product of 500 million years of evolution, shaped by apex predators like Anomalocaris, Mosasaurus, and the megalodon. And while it might suck that they're not still alive, they still exist in the form of how they've impacted ecosystems over such a long period of time. The reality of our planet is so much cooler than our imaginations, and that is that. And if you like this video, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss my next video out on a disease that can only be compared to the Black Plague. Keep up with behind the scenes content and my Discord server and our Patreon. And for now, stay curious. The world has a lot for us to learn. See ya!
You will not believe what they found there. It's seeing giant creatures roaming around him, and he's brought to a shimmering rainbow city. All of this is in his diary. Apparently, there are leaked photos that show us they're trying to cover up something big down there. Cultures all around the world just all independently come up with the same allegedly fictitious anthropomorphic bird, built by completely different cultures with zero contact among each other and thousands of kilometers apart. All dismissed as irrelevant or flat out ignored by mainstream archaeology. Get your tinfoil hats ready for this one.
Hey, say daddy's home, home for me. Waiting for this loving all day. You say daddy's home.
Jesus. That's pretty nice. When I woke up this morning, it was 8 degrees Fahrenheit outside. So I came to the studio and I was like, that's a little cold even by my New England sensibilities. So I thought we could have a little fire in here to warm myself up. That's nice. That's a real fire hazard right there. I actually do have a space heater in here with me today, which doesn't matter considering the entire place is uninsulated and way too big for this space heater, bringing us to a balmy 28 degrees Fahrenheit. And with that, I'm ready to make a video. Anybody want some paraffin wax? Do a slight rearrange here. There we go. We don't need the candle to be directly in front of me. Wow, I have a great idea. While I work on scripting the Atlantis episode, why don't I just do a fun little easy one-off video? You know, I don't know, maybe I'll talk about someone's TikTok account, you know, and just sort of break down all the videos that they've made. It'll be nice and easy, and certainly won't take me 2 months and 2 reshoots to finally complete. I have discussed a lot of conspiracy videos in my 3 years on TikTok and YouTube, and over the course of this time, there's been a lot of repeat offenders. But through all this time, there has been one account that has reigned supreme. The uncontested king of bullshit. An account that I get tagged in so much, it clogs my inbox every single time I open TikTok. For those of you that know who it is, I'm sorry. But today, we're gonna be talking about Phil Spixel, a conspiracy TikTok account run by a fella by the name of Philip Zeba. Philip Zeba? I don't know. Philip, if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. A few months ago, I found that I had been tagged in one of this guy's videos more than 300 times. And that's just one example. It seems like 75% of my tags are from this guy's content. And honestly, I'm kind of sick of it at this point. And so today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna be doing something I have never done before. I went through Philip's entire channel. It was, as you can imagine, an agonizing process, but I do it for you. And from all those videos, I have pulled all the major arguments that he makes. And in this video, I'm going to be going over every single one of them. Everything from Hollow Earth to pyramid power plants to the Smithsonian destroying giant skeletons. Howdy friends, my name is Milo Rossi, and welcome to this exceptionally long video, which I can think of no more an appropriate name than Philip Zeba Debunked. Philip Zeba is a bit of a character. Now, as one creator looking at another, I recognize the fact that all of us are characters in a way. We are based very heavily off of who we are in real life, but of course we put on a bit of an exaggerated persona for the camera. We're gonna be getting to know Philip's character very well today, but the trait we need to start with is a little something that we in the biz like to call yapping. My man Philip can yap.
Do you want me to
now, if you move the mouse, I'm sure you're saying to yourself, who the fuck is this guy? He's got a 2-hour-long video complaining about somebody else yapping. Yeah, you know what? That's fair. I'll admit it.
Oh my God.
A little bit. But the difference
Who
is
was
that
gonna
this is a
tell
YouTube
me
video essay. It's supposed to be 2
that
hours
my
long. What else are you
shit-
supposed to play in the
oh.
background while you're, you know, doing homework or something?
Fucking
Philip's sole medium is
amateur hour over
short-form
here.
content. Now, when you think of short-form content, what do you think of? 60 seconds, 90 seconds, maybe 2 minutes, maybe. Now, my man here can make videos that are upwards of 5 minutes long.
Oh
now,
my
I
God,
personally
that was
think
embarrassing.
5 to 6 minutes is way too long for a short-form video. I have some respect for it, okay? He's got a lot to say, even if it is yapping. But that's where my problem comes
That
in.
is
because I
embarrassing.
make all of my shorts 60 seconds. And because Philip spends so much time yapping, he is able to say so much bullshit in 6 minutes that I can only debunk like 1 point in 60 seconds. So since I can't even begin to scratch the surface of his bullshit in a single short form video, I decided to do this instead. Now, I've been planning to make this video for a long time. For those of you who subscribe to me on Patreon, you will have seen that this has been in my roadmap for like ever. In fact, I actually already filmed this video, the entire thing. It took me like 5 hours. And my structure was just, I watched like 7 of his videos in a row and just talked about them. But the problem is it ended up being so redundant and I absolutely hated how it was organized. So I decided to take another like 3 weeks to re-script the entire thing and shoot this. Oh, it's cold in here. What are we looking at? Oh, we have just crossed the 30-degree Fahrenheit line. Can you guys see the steam coming out of my mouth? Probably not. The lights are shining into it. What if I do this? Ready? This is gonna be crazy. Or it's not gonna work at all. See? I told you it was cold in here. So before we get into this unnecessarily long video, I want to welcome some of you. First, I would like to give a warm welcome to any viewers who are familiar with Philip's content and have some sort of belief in it. If you are a skeptic, I encourage you to watch through this whole video. In this video, I'm going to be going over all of the points Philip makes. All of my sources are going to be linked on screen and you can find all of them in the description. So if you are truly someone who, you know, wants to do your own research, put your money where your mouth is and watch this video to educate yourself further. Or if you want to call me a sheep and click off the video, you can have at it, but you concede the fact that you care more about your feelings than you do about facts. Hit him with the Ben Shapiro. Secondly, I'd like to give a big welcome to pretty much everyone else. If you're new to the channel, welcome. You've probably seen some of my TikToks where I do debunking of conspiracy theories. Well, if you like those, you're in luck because I'm going to be doing it for like 2 hours here. If you clicked on it because you saw how long the video is and you're just playing it in the background while you do homework or something like that, welcome. I do the exact same thing. I actually kind of intended for this video to be a little bit for that. If you want to be generous, sauce me an interaction, you know? It's like tipping the bellhop. It helps what I do here, you know? And if you're a returning viewer, welcome back, I love you. And bonus points if you're watching at the live premiere, Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, the last person that I want to welcome to this video is Philip Ziba himself. Now, Philip, if you are actually watching this, I'm actually partly addressing this video to you. As I said in the beginning, we both have caricatures. I think I said character, but what I should have said is caricatures. We both have exaggerated versions of ourselves that we present on the internet. This is my caricature, we're about to see your caricature. Now, in this video, my caricature is going to go toe-to-toe with your caricature. But one of the reasons that I reshot this video is because I felt like the first one was just too much of, like, you know, commentary channel attack content. And that didn't really sit well with me. And so while I am still going to be going for some pretty good digs in this video, I actually am trying to give you some advice, as weird as that sounds. No, I'm not gonna lie. I don't really like your content. And as a matter of fact, I don't even really know if I like you. But as a man-to-man and a creator to a creator, I respect you. Because regardless of the content you make, you are good at what you do. Even though I disagree with the information that you're putting out there, you have an obvious ability to connect with your audience. You have built a platform of 1.5 million followers on TikTok, and that's pretty impressive. Now, the only part of you that I've seen is your caricature. And so, unfortunately, I'm going to be judging you based off your caricature, which is a little unfair, but I don't really have anything else to go off. And so I want you to know that my thesis here isn't, you know, fuck you, get off the internet. I am trying to point out why I think the content you're making is something you should move away from and the damage that it has. But along with that, I also want to try and give you some, you know, advice and maybe some ideas for how to make your content better. Because even though the stuff you are communicating is a bunch of bullshit, you are a great communicator. So if you can respect the fact that we're kind of going into this as frenemies, I'm good to get this thing started. You hear that? That's the squirrels. Hey, keep it down up there, little fuckers. Oh, shit. They're climbing on the fucking rain gutter. Yo. Hey, little bastard, get out of here. Little shit. You know, honestly, I'm okay with having squirrels in my house. They get the attic, I get the downstairs. That works. We have a no man's land. We have an understanding here. I mean, it's cold outside. Why should I get to be in the warm house and they can't? Throughout this video, I want us to all keep a question in mind. And that is, does Philip actually believe in the things that he is saying, or is he just saying them to get clicks? Because someone who actually believes in what they are saying is willing to sort of go the extra mile, do the extra legwork. And even if we don't agree with them, and I'm going to research all of my points to, you know, show whether or not there's fact backing up the things he says, they still believe in it and they are willing to back it up. Someone who does it just to get clicks is someone who doesn't really care what words are coming out of their mouth. And in my opinion, it's even a little bit worse because they probably don't believe the things they're saying, but they are willing to peddle it anyway to people who do believe it because it's the thing that gets them clicks and views. Okay, and lastly, before we get into things, I want to make this very clear at the beginning. This is not a hit piece. I do not have a personal problem with Philip. This is not me trying to, you know, get off the internet and start some fucking bullshit. I don't really care about who Philip is as a person. I am just looking at the things that he is saying. These could be coming out of the mouth of anyone, and I would be fact-checking them in the exact same way. You are not to use this video as grounds to give Philip or his fans any negativity, and if you take a video like this as an excuse to harass someone, you are fucking dirt to me. Okay, we all on the same page with this? Good. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get this thing started. Damn, bro, it's cold up here. I need to get my mittens. Right, Philip, piece of advice number 1. Never let him catch you without your mittens. Oh, yeah, that's nice. All right, so I think there's no better way to kick off listening to Philip's yapping than by looking at whatever the fuck this video is.
Bruh, what on earth is this thing?
That's Big Bird in drag. I saw him last time I drank ayahuasca.
Apparently, it's called the opium or the erosion bird. And don't worry, they're definitely AI generated.
That's bullshit, Philip. Those things are definitely real. The one that I saw told me exactly how and when I was gonna die.
But many are beginning to claim that creatures like this are actually real, and we've already encountered them in our past before.
So this video came out around the height of the like erosion bird meme. So he clearly isn't claiming that these things are real, because that would be ridiculous, but he's using it as a bit of a clickbait segue into whatever the next bullshit is he's gonna say.
Why did cultures all around the world just all independently come up with the same allegedly fictitious anthropomorphic bird?
The same allegedly fictitious anthropomorphic bird. Okay, we're grasping at straws right off the bat here. So Philip, I gotta ask you something real quick. If you look at all those birds that you got up on screen right now, do those look like the same bird to you? Is that Thoth at the top? Thoth? What the fuck is his name? Okay, you got Thoth at the top, you got some sort of Mesopotamian god, and then some South American god. Now, while they all have bird features, what you will notice is that they have about as many different bird features as is humanly possible. One of them has the head of a bird and no wings, one of them has the head of a human and wings, and one of them is dressed in a bird costume. You cannot tell me that that is enough evidence for you that all of our ancestors were connected to bird people. So this brings us to a very important theme through all of Philip's content that we need to talk about right off the bat. And we even get to learn a new vocab word. So everyone repeat after me, hyperdiffusion. Hyperdiffusion is a pseudoscientific concept that traces its roots back to the end of the 1800s and the beginning of the 1900s. And even if you're not familiar with the word, you are absolutely familiar with hyperdiffusion. If you've seen anyone peddle conspiracies about Atlantis or long-lost, globe-spanning civilizations of the Ice Age or even ancient aliens, these are all examples of hyperdiffusion. Generally, the concept dictates that all of the major civilizations on Earth are descended from one lost master civilization. You can see why this was such a popular concept in the late 1800s and the beginning of the 1900s. Now, while the people who peddle these concepts today are obviously not using them in the same way as, Ignatius Donnelly did in the, 1900s, hyperdiffusion is something that has been used for a litany of terrible shit, everything from eugenics to justifying Nazi land claims. Now, obviously, that's not what Philip is doing here, but it is important to understand the roots of this concept. Now, with the background out of the way, how does hyperdiffusion really work in the practice of these videos? Well, why don't I just show you, and I promise you'll get the hang of it really fucking quickly.
So this is a map of pyramids all around the world, all allegedly built independently of each other and all having identical structures that follow this similar step pattern. Famous pyramids of Djoser in Egypt, Chichen Itza, Pyramid de los Nichos, Tikal Temple, the Great Pyramid of Cholula, Kokher, and Prasat Baksay Cham Krong in Cambodia. And deep within the ocean is the sunken Yonaguni monument, all with a nearly identical look, yet built by completely different cultures with zero contact among each other and thousands of kilometers apart.
Wow, that one is pretty classic. If people all over the world didn't have contact with each other, how did they know how to put the rocks going up? Just like the weird bird thing that we started out with, all these concepts are predicated on the idea that if A looked like B, then high-speed rail network. Trust me, we have a lot to cover about pyramids in this video, so I will get into that claim itself, but for the moment I want it to stand as an example of hyperdiffusion. Frequently, hyperdiffusion is used when talking about some of the most basic shit possible. When talking about the pyramids, it's like, how did they realize to stack them, or how they realize to make stones fit together this way?
How did our ancient ancestors figure out these identical building techniques completely independent of each other?
What these people totally neglect to mention is there's only so many ways you can work with stone. If you have thousands of civilizations across the world, of course some of them are going to come up with pretty similar ways of doing the same thing with the same materials trying to achieve the same end. Now, along with talking about physical constructions, hyperdiffusion also plays a lot into folklore, just like the birds that we saw just a minute ago. Now, a misconception that I think is peddled by these conspiracy theorists all the time is that archaeologists don't want to listen to folklore. In reality, folklore is one of the most important anthropological tools that we have, being anthropology, not archaeology, because you don't dig for folklore. Almost all folklore is based on some modicum of truth, and there's no anthropologist in the world who would deny that. But these conspiracy theorists kind of take it to a different level, where instead of looking for the seed of truth in the forest of myth, you just decide to cut down every tree and take it at face value.
Ancient Indian mythology had the Vedas. In the Old Testament, we got the Nephilim. The Quran had the people of Ad. Ancient Egyptians had their carvings and drawings of extremely large people in chairs. Mayans and Aztecs had their own depictions of towering humans. And the Sumerians, well, they had the Anunnaki.
We're gonna have to talk about giants a lot later in this video, so I'm not gonna get into it now, but hyperdiffusion. The thing that these conspiracy theorists don't really recognize is that all of the sort of commonalities between all of these cultures are things that every person around the world had contact with. The idea of a giant person is not a hard thing to come up with. We all live around people, and the concept of anthropomorphic animals is fucking ancient, as long as we've been able to, fire enough synapses to combine two creatures together. We are a species that lives on the ground. For as long as we could look up, we've seen birds flying in the sky and thought, man, I wonder what's up with that. So if you're telling me that the most likely reason a bunch of cultures around the world have bird deities is because there are actual bird deities and not because we all live on a planet with fucking birds, then you are out of it.
Zuni, Acoma Pueblo have legends of a race that existed there before them. These myths all speak of either a race of reptilians, yes, we're in lizard people territory now, or giants that civilized the area.
Uh-oh. What do you mean by that, Philip? That doesn't really give the right. I know you didn't mean it like that, but let's just, I'm an anthropologist, all right? My field pretty much got its birth from eugenics, so I'm trying to, right the wrongs of the past a little bit here.
Micmac, a Native American tribe that lived along the Atlantic coast, which shares a baffling number of similarities with Egyptian hieroglyphs, two cultures that allegedly had no contact among each other. This one was just a coincidence, of course.
Philip, I'm going to give you my first piece of advice. You clearly have an interest in history. You clearly have an interest in antiquity and the mysteries of the past. There are so many mysteries out there that you can talk about without having to peddle fucking reptilian bullshit. What about the Micmac language you just talked about? That's pretty interesting, isn't it? I'm sure a lot of your viewers probably haven't heard about the Micmac language, but because of the way you presented that video, now the only thing they know about is, well, maybe the ancient Egyptians had contact with the Micmac. Why don't you make a video talking about the mysterious Micmac language? Why is it that the Micmac have a written language and so many other indigenous groups in the US didn't? By trying to claim that there was some fictitious lost civilization, you make every little piece of the puzzle that we have at our disposal that's actually real completely trivialized.
Just like the Fuente Magna Bowl found in Bolivia with Proto-Sumerian cuneiform script writing on it.
That's not true. All right, guys, we're doing an awful archaeology speed run. Hey, guys, welcome back to Awful Archaeology. Today, we're going to be talking about the Fuente Magna Bowl. The Fuente Magna Bowl has no history, as in we have no idea where it came from, there is no record of the site, and we really don't even know when it was discovered. For those of you who've been watching my channel for a while, you'll be familiar with the word context. It's probably the most important concept in archaeology. Most of the information you can get from any artifact is finding where it is located. It's context in the world. Finding a projectile point in a stream bed is very different than finding a projectile point in, you know, a pile of bones. But if you were to take both of those projectile points, not record where they came from, and then just keep them in a box, they mean pretty much nothing. So you could have literally the Holy Grail in your hand, and if you don't have any records of where it came from, what the environment around it was like, it pretty much is worthless. So since we have no record of where the Fuente Magna Bowl came from, that makes it a little suspicious. Since people claim that it is the sole artifact that, you know, shows that ancient Mesopotamia had contact with North America, that makes it really suspicious. Oh wait, not North America, South America. It was in Bolivia, right? Sorry, my bad. Philip claims that he knows what language is on this bowl, which he should try and get that published, considering that nobody else has managed to figure out what the language on the bowl is. Various people trying to interpret the Fuente Magna Bowl have claimed that the script on it is anything from Sumerian, Proto-Sumerian, Phoenician, Georgian, and even Hebrew. So long story short, if people can't even agree on what the language on the bowl is, it probably doesn't mean anything. In all likelihood, the Fuente Magna Bowl was either a completely fabricated artifact or an actual artifact that was later carved on in order to sell it for a higher profit. Thanks for watching Awful Archaeology. Stay curious and all that shit.
Records of inner Earth civilizations have been reported by many, if not almost every ancient society of our past.
Wow, I wonder why that is, Philip. Maybe because for as long as people have had their neurons firing, we've wondered, I wonder what's below our feet. I'll give you 1 second to guess what he's gonna do next. Time's up. If you guess that he's going to list a bunch of civilizations that all have underworlds in their mythology, you are absolutely right.
Buddhists, Gartha. Ancient Indians have Patala. The Mayans got Xibalba. Chico Mostok for the Aztecs. The Sumerians Ker, Babylonians Urkala. Chinese Diyu. Ancient Egyptian, Greek, Roman, and even Celtics.
I'm sorry, the what?
And even Celtics.
The fucking Celtics? I always knew the fucking Celtics were doing something down there, bud. I gotta humble myself here for a second. I'm not normally the kind of person to make fun of someone mispronouncing something, but the fucking Celtics? You can't come onto the video of a guy from fucking Boston and not expect him to notice when you call the Celtics the fucking Celtics. You wanna go try that shit in fucking Southie, bud? Blue 95, the Auto Mile in fucking Norwood. Come on down there and try calling the Celtics the Celtics. I'll rock your fucking shit, bud. Shout out Massachusetts. You'll always have my heart. He's wearing a NASA shirt, too. Actually, that's pretty hilarious. You know what, Philip? I'm gonna give you a little point for that. I'll imaginary mark it on the wall. Hilarious that you're wearing a Celtics shirt. That would have been really good. If you wore a Celtics shirt, I would have thought that you actually intended to call them the Celtics. Wait, am I losing my shit? Is it actually pronounced Celtics or is it Celtics? I always thought it was Celtics. Okay. Citation needed on that one. I'm looking at it and it looks like it's Celtics, which is how I've always heard it. But if I'm wrong,
a research assistant and a fact check.
At least that bit was still pretty funny. No, I don't want to know how to pronounce Celtics like the Boston Celtics.
Celtics.
Yeah, I know how to pronounce the name of the Boston fucking Celtics. Here in Ireland, except for the initial soft say in sports teams' names, like the Celtics, Celtic with a hard C or K is the standard, but that was not always the case. The early pronunciation was with an S sound, reflecting its nearest origin in French. Okay, well, looks like Milo is right again. Okay, I'm glad I was right about that. That would have been pretty embarrassing. I mean, I don't know, maybe the Celtics do have their own underworld. The TD Garden is kind of like the underworld on Earth, so I mean, it would only make sense.
Just like the flood myth that appears in every single ancient civilization.
Okay, fuck off. We're not talking about the flood myth. I am so sick of that bullshit. The problem is that the entire concept of hyperdiffusion has one really big weakness. Whether someone's trying to convince you of Atlantis or a lost globe-spanning civilization of the Ice Age, there is one single piece of evidence that can debunk every single one of those points. And that is because people like to bang. Come on now. Whoa. Did you see that? My finger caught on fire for a second. For as long as humanity has climbed out of the primordial ooze, we have been leaving our grubby little fingerprints all over this planet. And the most conclusive way of seeing where humanity's path has been is looking at the literal genetic code in our bodies. Have a look at this map. This is a map of human migration across the world done only through genetic evidence. If you do believe that there was a lost advanced globe-spanning civilization in the Ice Age, then they must have had absolutely no game. If you do believe in these hyperdiffusion ideas, please just research this yourself. One off the top of my head, the Kennewick Man, an ancient set of human remains found in what's now like the Pacific Northwest of the United States, has a very close genetic link to a lot of indigenous Americans, as you won't be surprised, but also has a very close link to a lot of indigenous Siberians, because genetically he was very close to that group of people. Look at the globalization of the world today. We have people from all over the world who are able to, you know, mix with one another. When our civilization collapses, and you can mark my words that it will, if there was some anthropologist thousands of years in the future, they would be able to tell that we had a globe-spanning civilization because of our genetics. The frustrating thing about archaeology is you're trying to assemble like a 1,000-piece puzzle with 3 pieces left. And that means that there's a lot of blank spaces. But a lot of these hyperdiffusion theories act like we have all of the pieces. So instead of acknowledging that there's gaps between them, they're like, ah yes, Karahan Tepe, and, you know, Gunung Padang, and just like all this random shit, and they're like, yes, this is the full picture. Even though we're constantly uncovering new shit, and we'll never have the full picture. It's no small wonder that the people who actually studied archaeology are not the ones peddling this bullshit. Whoa, do I have another lighter? No kiss. They multiplied in my pockets. Okay, now that we're all on the same page with hyperdiffusion, let's go to the land down under, because we're gonna explore the ruins in Antarctica.
The ruins left behind by one of these ancient civilizations are rumored to have been discovered and then covered up in Antarctica as well.
We are off to a strong start with this one. Okay, I want you guys to take 5 seconds to look at this image, and I'm gonna see if you can guess what I'm gonna talk about in this section. I'll be in the corner taking a piss if you need me. I don't even need Google to tell me that that's an AI-generated image, Philip.
A lot of controversy behind these.
There is absolutely no controversy behind these ruins, Philip. Don't act like there is.
But apparently there are leaked photos that show us they're trying to cover up something big down there.
This is the first time we're seeing Philip's caricature shine through a little bit. Philip's character is that of a do your own research as long as that research is the Joe Rogan Experience kind of person. So he'll speak with this language that tries to trick you into thinking that what he's talking about is actually more plausible or more, you know, uncertain than it actually is. Which is why he'll lace things into it like, lot of controversy around these. There's no fucking controversy around them, Philip. You are literally just lying to your audience in order to drum up clicks. I mean, they're trying to cover up something big down there. Who the fuck is they, Philip? Who's they, Philip? No one is trying to cover that shit up, okay? There's no ruins in Antarctica. The conspiracies are right in front of your faces, people. Jesus Christ, these conspiracy theorists give like the perfect smokescreen for the government to keep doing the shady shit they've been doing for years. Honestly, maybe Philip is a government psyop, because the more breath he wastes talking about how the government is covering up giants, the more the government can continue fucking us 10 ways to Sunday and getting away with it.
Doubters will tell you these photos are fake because Google told them.
Okay, you smug son of a bitch, because Google told them. Philip, you can't rag on Google. It's the entire, like, sum of humanity's knowledge at your fingertips. Don't try and make people feel stupid for doing more research than you. But you know what, Philip? Just because you wanted to be a little bit of an extra smug bastard about this one, I decided to go down a little bit more of a rabbit hole just for you. So here's how I started. I Googled photos of ruins in Antarctica. I got this list of images, none of which are the ones you're talking about, which you'd think that if it was suddenly some big controversial thing, the images would be pretty much everywhere, right? But whatever, doesn't matter. I'll just take your word for it. And the photos were exactly what you would expect. We had this mountain that looks like a pyramid that we're definitely not gonna have to talk about in just a couple minutes, Philip. Oh my God, why would you make me do this? As well as some photos of shipwrecks and snowbanks and shit like that. But as I scrolled down, I found this image, which isn't one of the ones that you used, but looks very similar. Now, as if looking at it isn't enough to tell you, it says directly underneath, stable diffusion. Uh-oh. So I tracked this down to the Hugging Face article that it came from, and I found that it was referencing a bunch of these images being used on a YouTube channel. The Scott Lewis YouTube channel, which honestly, Philip, I'm sure you'd love him. He looks like he talks about the same bullshit talking points that you do. But they still weren't the same images you were using, so I decided to go back to the drawing board. And so I went back to my Google debunking, and first I found this hilarious April Fool's article from the Society for American Archaeology from the 1990s, talking about ruins being discovered in Antarctica and featuring a geologist called Scott Amundsen, Again, for any of you that are familiar with polar history, you will recognize both of those names immediately because they were the two explorers that raced to get to the South Pole first, as well as an archaeologist named H.P. Lovelock, a hilarious twist on H.P. Lovecraft and Lovelock Cave, which is also something we're not going to have to talk about in this video, right, Philip? But then I found this Reuters article called Photos Allegedly from Bird's Expedition to the Antarctic Allegedly Created by Artificial Intelligence. The Reuters article referenced another article called Top Secret Lost Photos from Admiral Byrd's Expedition by someone called Lost Books. So I click on that link and I find Lost Books page. Now I can't see the whole article because it's behind a paywall, so I obviously pay the paywall in the essence of doing research and look through the entire article. Now again, it had a lot of images, but not the ones that you used. So I did a little more digging on this Lost Books character. It's at this point that I should mention that Lost Books is someone who uses AI to illustrate their, fictitious novels that they write. Nowhere are they trying to convince you that these images are real. They are merely using them as a catalyst to tell their story. So after looking through the catalog of books, I found one called Mysterious Antarctica, claiming to have more than 100 images from probably the same set. And so for the low price of about $3 USD, I bought the thing. So I scroll through the entire book, but none of the images are the same. But something very unusual is happening, because even though it's none of the same images, the images look really similar. Like, really similar, as if they came out of the same computer-generated mind. So feeling like I hit a dead end, I went back to Lost Books' webpage. I found their email and I wrote to them. I said, hey, I'm working on a YouTube video. I came across your book and I need your help identifying some AI images. He responded back and said, yes, I would absolutely be interested in helping you with this project. Also, I am best friends with your cousin. I didn't expect that to happen. Somehow, this dude went to art school with one of my cousins who I've never met, and they've been best friends for like 20 years. Philip, I don't know why you led me down a rabbit hole where I connected with like a fourth cousin that I've never met in my life. This cousin that I apparently had then also reached out to me, and I learned that he lives near a really big flea market that I like, and now I'm gonna meet him. I don't know how this happened. Philip, I came here to learn about fucking AI images, and you just gave me a goddamn family reunion. So anyway, cousins aside, I wrote back and said, holy shit, what the fuck? So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to give a warm welcome to none other than the mastermind behind Lost Books himself, Tim.
My name is Tim Boucher. I live outside of Quebec City. I am an artist. I've been doing art way before AI art started, so that's not my only art thing, but I've been using AI to do images that are hyper-realistic, that are kind of a combination of fact and fiction, and I did my own set that was called Mysterious Antarctica that purported to show Admiral Byrd exploring Antarctica in the 1940s, 1950s as part of an operation. So I made a bunch of fake images that went viral. They're very similar to the ones that I made, and I used prompts like historical photos or grainy black and white images. I think with like the AI compression stuff that you see, like the weird artifacts, kind of like the fuzzy edges and stuff, you have an old fashioned looking picture, it makes your brain sort of accept that there are flaws in this image that otherwise, if it was modern, you might not accept them. When I first saw those images, I was like, well, this is a language that I speak. Like I've been making images in this style, even of this subject, for a while. So when I see them, I immediately recognize sort of stylistic elements, the way that some of the color is done, the way that sort of like light and shadow works, and also when you look at the images carefully and you think about the mass of the objects, a lot of times that's when things start to fall apart. Yeah, when you send me those images, it's like, I know this, I've been doing this for a while. I think they were Stable Diffusion, probably. They might have been Midjourney, but I've seen things now that lead me to believe it's Stable Diffusion. So it's the way that these things spread is people take them out of their original context and they just re-upload it and they put their own spin on it, and then it goes around the world again and again and again. So I started with the images that you sent me from, I think, a TikTok video, and I put a few of those into a reverse image search in Google, and that gave me a clean version. And from there I started tracking and building a timeline of like, okay, when was this first posted? But I found the original source, and the original source, it seems, is an artist on YouTube named Edgar Reyes. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, and he admits to it in a video on his channel and a video on another channel that it's kind of a long interview about how he did it and why he did it. He considers himself an artist too, and he makes a lot of the same points that I've been talking about already, about sort of like using the tools for creative exploration. Later on, they get reposted in the next week or two onto archive.org to make it look like it's a historical document. Suddenly, there starts to be a bunch of Russian websites that picked up those images. There's one that is like a sort of a Russian version of 4chan that seems to be one of the big like places where it started to propagate. And then from there, it goes to a number of other Russian websites that, in my digging, I found were publicly linked to disinformation networks and propaganda networks that are known to be Russian origin. And that's not like my opinion, that's the opinion of multiple independent outlets that I looked at that covered that site where it got reposted to. And those images got, at that point, recontextualized by whoever wrote that article in Russian with a bunch of new talking points and new ideas that are not at all contained in the original video. The original video is just images and music. And then from there, it appears that it got translated into at least 3 other languages: Czech, Slovak, Lithuanian. Oftentimes in this kind of investigation, you never really know what the ground truth is. But I think in this case, it seems pretty conclusive that they were made by an artist using AI. And then after that, they get picked up and repurposed by other actors, especially also on sites like Rumble and Odyssey. And you see there's a lot of copies of it on YouTube too now from different accounts. But it's like after it leaves the original creator's account, it just gets like reposted and reposted and reposted endlessly. Yeah, I mean, it sucks. And if it was my images being used that way, I would be mad and I would try to take action. What I would probably do is I would file DMCA copyright claims against people using the images, first of all, without my permission, but more importantly, in a way that's derogatory or extremely offensive, you know.
Thank you for coming on, Tim. It was a pleasure having you. I appreciate you sharing your expertise with us. I had a much longer interview with Tim that didn't need to go into this video because it's already long enough, but we had a wonderful conversation and I asked him all sorts of questions about his opinion on AI as an artist and where he thinks the art world is going, and I put the entire interview on my second channel. So if you want to watch that, the link for that is in the description. He is a wonderful mind and I think you should definitely listen to what he has to say. And if you're interested, I recommend you to support the man himself and check out his book. Link to that's in my description. If you spend $5 on coffee, you can spend $3 on a fun little book. I really enjoyed it. It reminded me a lot of Motel of the Mysteries, one of the books that I grew up reading. And it's really cool to see AI-generated imagery sort of supplementing a fiction book. The frustrating thing is when that art form is taken and bastardized by people like Philip. These artists are clearly not claiming that what they are creating is real, but it is so easy to just wipe the metadata from these images, throw it up on TikTok, and then regurgitate some bullshit. So kindly, Philip, to your claim that, you know, Google will tell them that this is fake, I know that you're trying to discourage your, fans and viewers from doing their own research, but if it makes you feel any better, I don't think that it's AI because Google told me. I think it's AI because someone told me who does it for a living.
A lot of people argue these ancient ruins aren't real, and who knows, but you gotta keep an open mind, right?
Philip, there is a difference between keeping an open mind and just believing any bullshit that comes across your screen. I appreciate that. You should keep an open mind. There's even some things in this video that you present that I'm like, huh, that's kind of interesting. But you can't claim like you're encouraging people to keep an open mind when you spent the first half of the video talking about how they'll Google it and say that it's wrong like a bunch of fucking nerds. Maybe you should have Googled it, and then you wouldn't have had to make a video where you just said bullshit for 5 minutes. Okay, I've given you guys sort of the appetizer. You have a little bit of an understanding of who Philip is. So with this in mind, I think that this is an important point for us to talk more specifically about Philip's character.
Doubters will tell you these photos are fake because Google told them.
I want to preface this by reiterating something I said earlier. I don't think that this is who Philip actually is. I think that the version we are seeing of him is just as much of a caricature as any influencer on the internet. Every influencer or creator sort of makes like a very hyperbolic version of themselves to present to the internet because that's what sells. In person, I am very similar to how I am in these videos, but I absolutely play to certain parts of my personality because that's the character that I am in front of the camera. And I think Philip is doing the exact same thing here. So all of that is to say that this is not me ragging on Philip as a person because I don't know Philip as a person. I only know this part that he is putting forward online. And frankly, I think this part that he's putting forward online is kind of a douche.
Let's take a second to get a few people mad out there with these photos of excavated giant bones found all over the world. Nah, bro, it's fake. Didn't you read that fact check article, bro?
There's something so poetic about watching someone who I feel like I helped out of a puddle of their own vomit in the teak basement say, didn't you read that fact check article, bro? Do you remember that time when, was it like Ted Cruz tweeted, "Don't listen to the science about climate change." It's like that. If someone tells you something and then makes fun of everyone who would try and do their own research to prove them wrong, chances are they're lying to you. Philip kind of puts on this persona of being like the smug, cold, hard fact kind of guy. It's like, we're really gonna trigger some people today. He's the kind of guy who probably said that everyone was triggered a lot in 2016 and then just never really grew past it. He has a few videos where he toes the line of talking about, you know, woke things. Frankly, it's just mega cringe, so I didn't include it in this video, but you kind of get the character that we're working with here.
Hey, yo, I gotta go. I've said too much.
And he also does that bullshit. Hey, yo, I gotta go. I've said too much. Philip, nobody gives a fuck. You're not gonna get fucking assassinated for talking about giants. Whoa, Milo, but you're coming down on him. You're trying to silence him. No, I'm not trying to silence him. I'm literally just trying to do his own research for him. Honestly, I don't want to silence Philip because the longer he does this, it's fucking job security. The nice thing about what I do for a living is that as long as there is stupid people, I can pay my fucking mortgage. So please, Philip, if there actually is a sniper trained on you right now, let me know and I will do everything I can to help because I got a water bill to pay.
All dismissed as irrelevant or flat out ignored by mainstream archaeology.
We're fed the narrative that they were built as tombs for pharaohs.
As you won't be surprised, he uses a lot of language like this. Mainstream archaeology. We are fed the narrative. You can tell that this is a guy who, you know, watched Ancient Apocalypse once and then probably watched Graham Hancock on Joe Rogan, and that's the research that he's done into archaeology. And so because he's gaining his archaeological input from two people who do a terrible job of representing archaeology, he thinks he knows what archaeology stands for, which is absolute bullshit. And I want to make clear that I'm a firm believer that you don't even need a degree in archaeology to call yourself an archaeologist. It's high time that academia moved past needing to spend thousands of dollars to get a piece of paper to say that you like something. But the difference between studying archaeology your whole life and calling yourself an archaeologist even though you don't have a degree, and what these people are doing, is that these people are speaking like they are an authority figure in archaeology, like they know better than archaeologists. Now, I actually do have some pretty immense respect for Graham Hancock. Even though I fully disagree with the things that he's saying, I do appreciate the fact that he can actually try and postulate his theories and, you know, actually try and back them up with evidence. I don't think his evidence is very good, but at least he's engaging in the scientific method. At least he's trying to play the game, you know? Now, Philip here is not doing any of the extra legwork. He's not really adding anything to the conversation. He's just sort of boiling down all the talking points and then reciting them in 6 minutes, which there's nothing wrong with. I mean, it's kind of what every influencer does, isn't it? But you kind of miss out on all the nuance, and instead all you get is like a frat bro talking about how mainstream archaeology is trying to silence us. So as much as I don't want to be a gatekeeper of archaeology, Philip, I'm gonna assume you have a business degree. You can be as interested in archaeology as you want, but don't fucking talk about what mainstream archaeology wants you to think.
To which modern Egyptologists claim these handles were used with ropes to pull jars. They're just getting desperate at this point.
And now we put it all together. Here's Philip being both smug and wrong. The people who actually study ancient Egypt for a living say it's this. Pff, they're just getting desperate at this point.
Which was later dismissed as an ancient sloth? Like, come on, they're just making shit up at this point.
That skeleton of a giant ground sloth is a giant ground sloth? They're just making shit up. Philip, you could make your caricature anything you want. Why'd you have to make your caricature a dumbass? Like, really, I don't know what other terms to put it in. Philip, you don't look like you're some mega intelligent critical thinker by looking at a giant sloth skeleton and saying that they're making it up. You kind of just end up looking like a goober.
But apparently, that was just the tip. And if you know me, I do not like just the tip.
You know what, Philip? I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that I don't think that's true either. Because as one cis-het man to another, you look abrasively straight.
Pyramids. Don't y'all get a little half chub when I talk about them? Cause I sure do.
No, Philip, I don't get a little half chub. I'm fully fucking erect. See, this guy, you can tell this guy doesn't have a degree in archaeology. He only gets a half chub when you talk about pyramids. Me, I gotta go change.
Civilization to exist on Earth, then this will change your mind and blow it at the same time.
So Philip puts a lot of like weird sexual innuendos in his videos. I don't really know why this is. I have some respect for it because like it engages with the audience, which is cool, I guess. But I mean, do you really want a video of yourself online saying something about getting a half chub with a pyramid? I guess I actually did just say something a lot worse.
Fully fucking erect.
Who the fuck am I kidding? It's not like I'm getting hired after having this job anyway.
I'ma give it to you raw. 10 undisputable facts that absolutely double penetrate pyramid deniers.
Dude, what the fuck? I would give anything to read a psychological evaluation of Philip Ziba. At least that's probably the first time that sentence has ever been spoken. You got that going for you.
I spat 10 unbelievably raw facts about the pyramids in the previous video, which were all true, but of course the Google debunkers desperately tried to prove them wrong.
You guys catch that? Unbelievably raw facts that the Google debunkers desperately tried to prove wrong. We're bringing it all together now. We got smugness. we got generalization, we got sexual innuendos, and the last thing we got is the most important one, we got Google debunkers. If there is one straw man that Philip loves to talk about, it's the Google debunkers. But a little piece of me feels like I might be the Google debunker. Because even though I haven't done a lot of short forms talking about Philip's content, I sort of am the leading debunker, as far as I know, on social media. And so chances are Philip's probably pretty familiar with me. I know it's a team effort, you know, we got some other ones. We got Aslan Pahari out there who's making some amazing debunking content.
Hello, my friend.
But he's a bit more anthropology focused. Me, my job is being a bastard. And whether or not I was the Google debunker before this video, I'm definitely the Google debunker now.
The Google debunkers will tell you, oh, it's a natural mountain formation, formed through erosion.
Google debunkers. It's a natural mountain formation caused through erosion. Well, that's a really good point. What if I said it in a really stupid voice? It's a natural mountain formation formed through erosion. Oh my God, it's actually wrong now.
So all the Google debunkers are quick to downplay any new evidence that comes up.
Google debunkers.
A side of the pyramids the Google debunkers don't want you to know about.
The Google debunkers. The Google debunkers don't want you to know about this. The Google debunkers are trying to cover it up. The government is full of fucking Google debunkers.
Google debunkers.
Google debunkers.
Google debunkers.
Google debunkers.
This guy drives me fucking Google debunkers. I'm gonna be honest. It's always fucking Google debunkers with this guy. Google debunkers this, Google debunkers that. I can't throw a stone without hitting a fucking Google debunkers. Oh, my old lady, the old ball and chain, the goddamn woman drives me fucking Google debunkers. It's cold in here, Jesus Christ. Oh my God, it has increased 4 degrees. That space heater is doing its best. You know what I need? I need a little pick-me-up, because now we're gonna be talking about ancient Antarctica on maps. Wow, it's fucking cold in here. Woo! All right, it's 1 p.m. somewhere. And that somewhere is right here. Ooh, that's good. When Philip did his watch through of Ancient Apocalypse, he learned something really interesting. And that is that there are ancient maps that depict Antarctica. And Philip was stoked about this. And so he made it all of our problem.
But even ancient maps painted Antarctica as green.
Philip, fucking God. Depicted is that your evidence? I'm gonna assume that you're using this as evidence for Antarctica being green because it's what you're showing while you're talking about it. How do I put this? What the fuck, dude? Okay, I need to see it on here. Believe it or not, the images that show up aren't.
I'm ending this here. I'm tired. I started my period today and just need to lay down.